It is Friday, the 13th of March, 2015. My name is Chris Ellis, and we have some breaking news. The ProTip crowdfund campaign has broken through the $2,000 barrier. We had a big spender who I need to contact to make sure it's okay to say their name on air before I say it. But someone very, very generously donated $500 to the campaign, which together with the Bitcoin donations, which are currently oh no, actually, no, look at this. Indiegogo has actually pulled away from Bitcoin. So initially we were having some problems with PayPal and Indiegogo integration. Tom Hunt, a good friend of ours on the World Crypto Network, came through for us and volunteered his PayPal account. So now the payments are going through. So I think a lot of the people that wanted to support us early on were then given the chance. So we've now broken through 2,000. That means, ladies and gentlemen, that we have made $2,000 in under 24 hours. And this is a 34-day campaign. I picked that number for a special reason because I wanted it to line up with the 16th of April. For our delivery deadlines, that will basically give us 2 weeks where we don't have to promote the campaign every single day so that we can actually deliver on the deadline that we've committed to people. Now, that means that if we keep making 2,000 a day on average until the 16th of April, we will raise $60,000, and I really, really would love for you to make that happen. With your support, we can do that, and Leo and I can actually spend, a whole year really developing these features out and delivering them to artists. And whilst Leo is working on the code, I'm going to be championing the people. All the artists that are signing up for the promotion package at $100, we're going to showcase your work on our homepage. So the sort of the banner at the top that you see at the moment, the link is just right here below, my.protip.is. So guys, what do you all think of this? $2,000 in under 24 hours, in fact. That's less than 24 hours. What do you make of it?
Well, that's great. Let's keep it up, people. We got to double it now. You got to keep on. You got to keep the same, same momentum. Don't lose momentum. Keep on donating. Now let's talk about some of the things you can get if you donate on Indiegogo. What are some of the things that you get? So I think there's different levels. If I donate and I can get something in return, I get early access as one of the benefits. What are some more, Chris?
Well, we're going to be giving people shout-outs here on air. Also, for $500, you can actually join us on air here on the World Crypto Network or over on our sister channel, ProTip.is, the YouTube channel over there. So we want to really be a champion of the people. For $50, we are going to be sending out ProTip T-shirts. More details on their way. We will have the Chief Fulfillment Officer, David Bailey, who, as I announced last night, has very, very generously also donated to the cause these two very rare physical Bitcoins, solid silver, and on the back of them they have this special holographic sticker which has a Bitcoin address behind it. And I took some stills of these a couple of weeks ago and I tweeted it out. So I've got some really, really nice close-up shots. So these will.
So how do I get those?
Right, so these will be available from Monday on Max Kaiser's Start Join. We wanted to give something back to the Bitcoin community because obviously this is a crypto campaign. The reason we chose Indiegogo to be the main focus of the crowdfund was because we didn't want this to be exclusively, cryptocurrency based. We think that the Bitcoin community is very inward facing, that it tends to talk to itself a lot, that a lot of the pragmatists and the regular I suppose the general public that are non-technical, everyone knows what Bitcoin is. There's a broad awareness, but there isn't very much understanding. And I think that a lot of people just see this as a political movement. They don't see why it's important to them. They just want to spend pounds and dollars and euros and whatever's convenient. And so I wanted to reach out to artists in general, which is why I chose Indiegogo. But yeah, we would be remiss if we didn't try to give something away. So we won't be asking for very much on Start Join. It will probably be like $1,000 limit. But yeah, we're going to be. There will be perks that add to more than that, of course. If you want to give more, you're more than welcome to. But
you can give more.
Yeah, exactly. But it was just a chance for us to.
Yeah, but like I know, I'm just joking. But yeah, but if you're a Bitcoiner or a crypto fanatic, and you want to hodl, you don't want to give up your coins, then we'll eat your fiat. Just go to Indiegogo and we'll eat that up, no problem. So that you can pay how you want. It's not limited, fiat or crypto, no problem. So I think that also shows how flexible the crypto community is a lot of times with some things and what possibilities there are to reach out. I mean, you know, it is there are some hurdles getting Bitcoin still, and a lot of people that have Bitcoin are not really using it to buy stuff. Fair enough. You know, the price goes up and down, and you know they want to hold it because they think it might be worth more. But I think that we can try to show, for example, that you just put the address up. We don't even have a campaign explicitly on a website like StartJoin that's trying to get Bitcoin. You just use the address and said, hey guys, if you like this, send to this address, and people send there, and that's it. And that's just so beautiful and so simple that that can also work.
Yeah, and also I want to see people earning Bitcoin rather than like
Yeah,
paying for it, you know, trying to use your credit card, which you can't do.
exactly. Isn't that the
Um,
whole point? So you're a content provider and now you can earn Bitcoin.
yeah,
I always told people that. I always said, some people said, how do I get Bitcoin? Well, you can go here and get verified and send in dollars or euros, but you could, I used to just tell people to go to Bitcoin Talk and sell something or offer a service or whatever, but now the plugin should also help people.
yeah, absolutely. It could be passive income. No reason not to. No excuse. Just put a Bitcoin address on your blog or your webpage. Ksenia, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here on air, and I think we should maybe talk about what happened yesterday because it was like an interesting, weird story about PayPal and what actually happened.
Well, yeah, I mean it was bizarre, and Indiegogo still haven't got back to me. They just don't. A lot of these tech startup companies just don't have the staff to respond to their customer base because the customer base is too big, and if they had to answer every single response, so when you go to the Indiegogo support page, they make you jump through all these hoops to check to make sure that it hasn't already been covered in the support forum and that your answer hasn't been, you know, located somewhere else. And then eventually you'll be allowed to send an email to them. But they're sending me lots of emails about the comments that are being left on the Indiegogo pay on the Indiegogo crowdfund page, which, by the way, I can't reply to, which is also a bit disconcerting. I would like a feature so that I can actually reply to the people that are leaving really nice comments on crowdfund, which I'll read out on another show over the weekend. And yeah, so I phoned up PayPal, who actually was super nice yesterday, and they were like, look, there are no restrictions on your account. There was a restriction of about £1,700, British pounds, on there when we did launch, but that should still have worked. People should still have been able to donate. So yeah, I'm not sure. But then when we put Tom's, I actually set up another PayPal account after that, and I went through all the KYC. I sent in like my passport and everything, answered a phone call, did all of that, and I set it up again, and it still wouldn't work. And there are no restrictions on that one either. So so now Tom's using his one. Which actually may benefit us because Tom doesn't have to pay a dollar conversion, and I'm thinking what he can do is just buy the bitcoins with them. If we find someone, if you run an exchange, or maybe you're like a power seller on like local bitcoins, and you're in the sort of San Francisco area, please get in touch if you'd like to make a non-financial contribution. Maybe the way you could help us out is by helping Tom convert the dollars that we're making on the crowdfunding into Bitcoin, and then he can just send the Bitcoins to us, and then we can kind of cash them out here, because I'm at the moment trying to strike an agreement with a UK-based Bitcoin currency exchange so that we can get 0% commission on all the Bitcoin donations. I'm also going to need your thoughts, Ksenia and Theo and anyone out there, on what you think we should do with the Bitcoin funds, because of course what has been suggested is that we put them back into the Indiegogo campaign so that the actual barometer, the actual, not the barometer, what's it called? The thermometer price index thing goes up, because otherwise, if we don't reach the 50,000, if too many people donate in bitcoins, we don't reach the 50,000, we'll pay like a higher fee, because if you don't reach it, they charge you more. So what do you think we should do?
It's kind of a shame to. Is my mic on? Yeah. It's kind of a shame to just convert Bitcoin into fiat, because we're kind of promoting actually. Well, the thing is with Bitcoin that sort of everyone realizes at some point that it doesn't matter how much money it costs as long as it's circulating. So basically, if I can have some Bitcoin and tip my favorite content producers, then why on earth I have to transfer it into something else? If people then can go to a coffee shop where they want to sit and work and pay for a coffee there, then why converting into fiat? And then the whole kind of peer-to-peer economy actually will work, because right now it's unfortunately a lot about trading and just conversion obsession with the price. So it would be a bit of a shame, but I suppose, if we will need to top it up, then we will need to do that. So, top up the Indiegogo.
Yeah, well, I wasn't. I see what you mean. Do you know the percents off the top of your head about, what needs to be reached? I think it's the would be not the best thing to do. Do you get better, search results on
Right.
Indiegogo if you're doing well
So
on the funding?
So another thing I would like to do is I'd like to do a show where we talk about this in more detail. But yeah, when we were researching, I spent about 2 months researching how to, pull off a good Kickstarter and Indiegogo campaign. And most people told me, look, the whole thing's a bit of a scam. You're basically supposed to get all your friends to fund it in the first 12 hours, and then an algorithm kicks in, and they see that you're in demand or whatever, and then they rank you higher, because essentially all Kickstarter and Indiegogo are is an SEO platform. They're just there for search engine optimization. They're just about visibility. And unfortunately, ironically, they're kind of one of the middlemen that we're trying to disintermediate, at least in spirit, with this project. So it's kind of weird, because at the moment we can't live without them, but they could. No, they can't live without us, and we can't live without them. But I think very soon we're going to end up in a situation where they could live without us. And I'm just a bit concerned that I didn't, by the way, do that thing where I got, all of my friends to donate in the first 12 hours. Of course, I told all my friends I was doing it, but I didn't, pressurize anyone into, donating anything they didn't want to give just so I could hit some silly metric. I mean, for me, this is about, like, permission, right? If people think that this is a good project and they think that we're the right people to go out and do it, then they give us permission by giving us the money and the freedom to go off and explore that. So I'm a bit two minds about it. If we're getting traction, and I think we're at a tipping point, and I'm worried that maybe if I don't put the Bitcoin funds into the Indiegogo, that we'll miss the 50,000. What happens is we'll end up paying 9% commission instead of the 4% that Indiegogo usually take, and that's quite a big chunk. So that means if we raise 10,000 on Indiegogo, they'll take $900. That's quite a lot of money. Have I done that right in my head? Yeah, that's $900. I
That
mean,
sounds right. I mean, I don't know. We can discuss it.
that's a
We could
huge
say
chunk
we
change.
could say if
Oh.
That's a
Well,
huge chunk change.
that sounds right, but it sounds quite a lot.
So I mean, that's a lot of money. Like you could probably, well, for not, what can you buy for $900? Probably get a nice holiday for that, a nice sort of week long.
well, you can
You know,
buy a lot of Dogecoin.
you buy a lot of Dogecoin for that. But that's a chunk of change, when really all they've done is they've written a bit of software that they have to keep patched, but that once they roll it out, it works across, quite a lot of users. Millions of users potentially can use this throughout a year. So it's not like a personal service. You're not buying a car. You're not taking something out of space. You're using a piece of software that can just be replicated over and over again. And I feel like $900, considering the amount of work that I've had to do, 14 hours of work yesterday, and I was up for over 20, and I was up until 3 a.m. So, like, we were working for 3 months. So I sort of feel like, yeah, their business model is kind of peaking. I think they're doing very well at the moment because crowdfunding is so popular. But we can't have it indefinitely, because, of course, once we pay the 9%, we then have to transfer it into our business bank account. The business will then pay corporation tax. I will then pay tax as a citizen as well, as a private citizen, on my earnings from the project. So you've got fees, you've got currency conversion fees, you've got the fees from Indiegogo, you've got the tax fees, both always, and then of course when I spend the money on products, I have to pay sales tax, I have to pay VAT, which is 20% in the UK. So take all of that away, take all the middlemen out, and what you're left with is maybe, I don't know, couple of pence an hour you're earning in the West. I don't know. I'll work it
Yeah.
out.
But the
Yeah.
thing is, it's like it's a lot to do with this ownership of tools. When you mention a software, like you're using Indiegogo, for instance, and they're charging this amount of money because they can. I mean, it's not like I'm gonna dig under the roots of the tree that I'm eating acorns from, but the thing is, it's like someone owns this thing, and you have to pay for it. So the whole kind of point, and ironically, the developing ProTip and the ownership of it, and it being open source and peer-to-peer, is like the whole point of actually raising this question: is it fair to pay 9% of what you raised by talking to your friends and your contacts and promoting the campaign? How much of it is actually promoted by a crowdfunding platform itself?
Yeah, I mean that they're also a platform that can take credit cards and PayPal,
Yeah, it's a
and as
service.
we've yeah
I mean, it's not as personal as you'd like, but it's a service, and essentially you're also using their name. Oh, I've got a project on Indiegogo, or
yeah
and that's basically it. You can associate, because some people are going to say, okay, that's legit. Because if you just said, oh, here's my PayPal address, oh, I want to take credit cards. Here you go. I've got a little terminal. They probably wouldn't do it. So it just kind of gives that little thing. Yeah, it is 9% is a lot. I think we should try to avoid that. But I don't know the best way. The
well
only way I can
you
think
have
of
to
right
make
now
more than
is to
50 we have to make more than
we have to
50,000.
we have to appeal to all of the people watching now that are probably crypto fanatics that match your crypto amount in fiat and dump it into Indiegogo if you think fiat's useless. But yeah, we need to talk about what level how if that what that is what that means and so on with the 9% or the 4%. And I believe start join is flat 5%, I believe. That's also similar model. I am happier how they do help promote things because it's a smaller platform. They do
Yeah.
tend to tweet stuff out and talk about it a lot. But yeah, you have a similar conversation there. Um, yeah, but everyone, keep on donating, and like I said, it's an open source project, so you could use it one day, and
Yeah,
that's pretty
absolutely. I
cool.
think I think I like the way Carly Film Productions are doing their crowdfund, and we'll have to get is it Lara on with us
Yeah,
again?
Laura, we could get Laura on here again.
Yeah,
We
I
can
think we should get her back
ask.
here because what she's doing is really cool, where they're hosting their own crowdfunding page, but then you've still got the issue of discovery because at the moment Kickstarter and Indiegogo are in this they've got this kind of perverse incentive alignment where their incentives are aligned to only work to work the most on the campaigns that they think are going to go viral and through the roof. So they have certain algorithms, and I'm sure stuff goes on behind the scenes as well. I mean, that would be naive to think that people don't talk to one another, and you don't make a phone call to a Kickstarter and say, look, I've got a really big campaign here and some investors have earmarked some big money, and then Kickstarter then presumably are incentivized to promote the hell out of that campaign, because where they will make most of their money will be on the campaigns that go over 1 million, because if you're taking 4% of over 1 million, so if you've got a campaign that's got a target of 100,000 like Amanda Palmer did in 2011 with her album, the Dresden Dolls album, and that it's going to be a popular campaign, or you can tell early on that it's getting some traction, it's worth every minute of your time as a crowdfunding platform to promote the hell, make sure it ranks on the homepage as soon as people come by, and make sure it SEOs well on the blogs and on Google and everything. That way you'll turn $100,000 project into $1 million project. And so I think that's probably what their strategy would be.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, they want to promote the ones that are already popular. Um, yeah, that makes sense from their point of view.
Yeah, I think also, I mean,
What's the name?
yeah, sorry.
Go ahead, Ksenia.
Yeah, what I was saying is like it's sort of, I mean, what I wanted to say that even though tools like ProTip, they kind of a little bit disruptive to the business of crowdfunding, at the same time, it's slightly different. When I'm thinking of it, it's slightly different sector, because what we discussed as well on when we were preparing this campaign for Indiegogo is what kind of projects actually get funded, whether it's some sort of tangible stuff, what kind of perks you need to send out, and because in this sense you have to produce something. So basically, if you're just running a blog or making a podcast, you can of course launch a small crowdfunding campaign to fund to buy a new microphone or something, but it's really not. It probably won't get that much traction. So it's sort of the idea of expanding this this sector for what kind of products, what kind of services. Because yes, sorry, it's a bit hard for me to formulate it because I'm thinking of it at the same time. On platforms like Indiegogo or any kind of crowdfunding platforms, you have to come up with some sort of a product, and it's almost impossible to crowdfund a service. There are some platforms which are more about sort of non-profit service, when someone goes to, I don't know, some weird country in order to, I don't know, drive an ambulance there and donate it or something like that. But it's sort of, from what I've seen, it's very rarely actually raising something. And I think this perception of product and service is nowadays very important, because what we tend to value is a product. We all want some sort of a product, and there's very little, even a service, if you like, usually represented by some sort of a product, is some sort of an app or an event, or it's kind of a product-like. And yeah, so I think it's producing content as a service, such as, I don't know, centralized TV channel is a service, as a public service, is kind of an important point, I think, here to touch on philosophically.
Well, it's also the fact that consumers are not willing to pay for things that they can't touch, and we were told before setting this up that we had to produce something physical like T-shirts and coffee mugs. And actually, during the interviews that we did, I think one of the outtakes, we've got Leo saying, look, if coffee cups and T-shirts aren't working for you, then this is exactly the kind of campaign you need to be getting behind. And he's right. Like, the fact is that I've got tons of giveaway T-shirts every time I go to one of these, event launches. Another startup is giving away its T-shirts so that you can walk around with an advert, for them and stuff. But I think it's just tokenization. I don't think people really want the T-shirt. I think it's, and actually when we were looking into getting T-shirts made, it turns out that the net cost of sending a T-shirt to someone worldwide is like £10 a piece, and that's about as cheap as you could possibly do it, including the cost of the T-shirt, which wouldn't be like the best quality. So when we were thinking about the price, it's like, well, if we do it for $25, which we were told to do it for, we're not making any money on the $25 perk, right? And the $25 perk is supposed to be your most popular one. So it's always very difficult. Markets are very complex, nuanced conversations which require a myriad of signals for people to be able to compare their needs and their wants and their ability to deliver on. And I think at the moment there is just a massive disconnect between our roles as consumers and our roles as producers, because I'm both in the same day. Sometimes I'm consuming and sometimes I'm producing. When I'm consuming, I'm trying to get as low a price as I possibly can, and when I'm producing, I'm trying to get as high a price as I possibly can. And apparently it's a function of being able to do both of those to a maximum extreme, except if you take that to its corollary and you do that, everyone does that all of the time, nobody ever gets paid what they really need in order to survive.
But I'm not sure if it's as simple as just markets and consuming and production, to tell the truth, because There is what I kind of believe, going back to tipping. When I go to the pub and I order beer, I can get a beer without actually tipping a waitress. And it's when I'm tipping, what am I actually doing? Is it because I want her to remember my name and then remember what I drink and serve me next time when I turn up with friends, serve me as like a special VIP customer or a regular? Like, what is it which makes us actually support something we like just because we can, not necessarily when we're rich, you know? So I think it's sort of outside of the. I'm not sure if it really goes under the market thing. If, for instance, I want to, if I really appreciate some sort of newspaper, and I don't really, I think they should all be just digital, but I'm still going to buy a paper copy because I have some sort of a personal attachment to the team which is actually working in it. So I want to, I don't know, somehow symbolically show it's that I'm supporting it and I'm enjoying it. And I'm not sure if it's only about like getting this service because I'm buying something. It's like this sort of notion of donation. I had some experience with fundraising for charities, and I think it's kind of in a slightly different domain than just the market. I don't know if.
Well, I'm sort of defining markets like conversations. I'm sort of defining them in terms of, I got that from, obviously, from the Clue Train Manifesto. It's a very famous quote. Because that's really what they are. Markets. If you want to define it as in a different way, you can also describe it as a settlement system. It's a way of deciding what happens next in the event that we can't agree. So what is the deal breaker? Well, the deal breaker is we all agree on this price discovery mechanism, that buyers put in their prices, sellers put in their prices, and then there's a matching process and a clearing process. And then once everything is cleared, everyone agrees not to fight each other or to fall out or to raise any kind of disputes if that condition is met. So it's just a way of avoiding conflict in a social system. But tipping for me is fraught with. I mean, we call it pro tip for a special reason. We like the idea of professional and we like the idea of tipping. But I think the problem that I've got with tipping, as I've said before, is that it comes with huge social complexities to think about. I think the real reason, like, waitresses in America are tipped, and it's kind of part of the culture, is because there's a common understanding they're not paid enough. It's just so that the employer doesn't have to pay them, and then they can make it all based on performance. But of course, the people that tend to do the best financially are the people that can secure the money regardless of their performance, because that's how you get rich. I've noticed this myself. It's about locking in capital and externalizing risk onto other people and doing everything you can to keep the profits on the right side of the balance sheet and keeping the losses in somebody else's balance sheet. So it's really got nothing to do with ability.
Yeah, but I mean, most of the time, unfortunately, wages and tips is not about getting rich. It's about paying your bills.
Yeah, sure. No, I totally agree. It's just it's just if you want to create a sustainable set of living conditions, if you say, okay, I really like artists and I'm always listening to music and I really enjoy it, but then you're only paying like you're paying Spotify £10 and you don't realize that they're only giving like fractions of a percent to the artist eventually, then all you're really doing is you're ignoring the fact that that's a limited time period. You know, you're not going to have that for very long if everyone starts behaving this way. And actually what you're doing is you're facilitating a lot of people in the middle that will be more than happy to take rent from people for not really bringing any value.
Well, that's true. I mean, what I do like, or what I want to go back to what you said about the cups and T-shirts, because with the crowdfunding, that's what you see mostly. And also another thing you see is that yeah, the people are not doing what they're talking about, in the sense they're forced to sell T-shirts and coffee mugs and not work on the project. And that's not the way it should be. It should be the other way around. And I think that we tried not to do that too much and offer things that are not related to the project, or that would, it would be like, I want to start a bakery and I'm offering physical Bitcoin if you fund me. It doesn't really make any sense. You know what I mean? Or it just doesn't go together. Or even if I want to start a bakery and I'm offering T-shirts, okay, it's promoting the bakery, but the effort, I'm not really, I don't know a lot about making T-shirts. Maybe I know about running a bakery and making cakes. So the rewards should have to do with that, or the best, or something like that. So that it should be related. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know. I mean, I like yeah, tipping. Well, when I tip people, I guess I come from the States, so I've always tipped people. And if you've ever, and I always have, oh, I have a funny theory. I call it tipping karma. That if you don't tip, then you're going to end up in a service job that depends on tips, and that's what's going to happen. And then you're going to have, and
I
no one is
don't
going
think
to tip
that's
you.
true. I don't think
Well,
that happens at all.
well, hey, I don't know. That's just my little, that's what I tell people that tip really bad. But that was more in the States. So, but here in Europe, if I tip, people are like, "Wow, that's so much." Like I give the person at the cafe like 50 cents or €1, and they're like, "Wow, that's amazing. Thanks a lot."
But this
But I
is so
just
sad. I
yeah,
mean,
but I just
yeah,
appreciate what they're doing. I just
yeah.
do it out of appreciation or respect. I mean, if they're reasonable and they took a little extra effort, then that's what I tip people for, as far as in quote real life, not internet world. You know,
Yeah, but I mean,
but
it's sad that people say, "Oh, wow, this is so much." Because I mean, the thing is, sorry, I interrupted you. The
it's
thing
okay.
is, like, I probably would tip like a grumpy waitress if she's just doing her job well, because we all know they paid peanuts. And actually,
Yeah,
unfortunately, it applies to content producers as well. Even, let's say, even a blogger who blogs what he likes to blog about every now and then or all the time, and every now and then gets paid for like some shit copy editing job. We know it's kind of not really how you get rich. You do it because you like it.
sure. Yeah, sure. But on the same hand, I mean, you've got to offer value, if you're a content producer too. And the same thing, I think, if you're a waiter in a cafe, I mean, I've got to be nice if I'm going to expect to get any tips. I'm not entitled to get tipped just because I do the very
Yeah,
minimal, in my opinion. You see
but
what I mean?
actually, I
And
think
I don't know if this is part of the discussion.
well, I think Google has a lot to answer for here because they produced a system that beat off a lot of the spam that was happening in the 90s on the internet, where people were just throwing up a lot of junk on the internet, and you didn't have proper filters to be able to search it. But Google comes along at a time when Yahoo and Lycos are trying to be all these different things to people. They're serving up weather, they're serving up news, they're serving up stocks and shares and things. And then Google just comes along. It's just one amazing thing to everyone, and it's basically a table of contents for the internet. They are basically in the business of making an index for the internet. And what happens is that you end up with this system where good stuff does tend to float to the top because it's based on this PageRank algorithm that they use, that when you go off and you leave their website, which they wanted you to do, they would track that you left the website. And if you just kept coming back and you kept going through all these links, they would eventually tabulate and form a list of all the best performing websites, and then they would serve it back to the same group of people again. So it had this kind of really nice self-reinforcing positive kind of virtuous spiral, if you like. And what that did, of course, is I think it led to a kind of a parasitical culture where people just equate anything they find on the internet with free because there's no real friction to it, because you can find it immediately. The problem is it is producing a friction on the other side of a whole bunch of very complex technology. And what people forget is every online interaction begins with a preceding offline action. Right? Everything that happens online starts offline. And so they don't realize that the economics is made necessary by nature, that if somebody has put a lot of work into producing a video or has written a blog post and you've got something out of it, and then you just walk away without any amount to pay, then that can actually have a very deleterious effect on the whole system. But if you say to somebody, if you got like half a cent for every single person that came to your blog over a few years, that would probably scale quite nicely. You probably wouldn't have to have. You could probably get, I reckon you can get about 4,000 good followers on Twitter in about a year. If you're on Twitter and you're a year and you're just being yourself, just be authentic. You don't have to be clever or funny or anything. Just be yourself. Just tell a story that only you can tell. Because from that kind of courage will come an originality that no one else will be able to have on your behalf. And there will be somebody somewhere that will want what you've got to give. And I would say about a year you get 4,000 followers and 25 cents a follower, and that's like $1,000, you know, a month, let's say. So 25 cents a month per follower, 4,000 followers. That's $1,000 a month right there. And the only thing we've got to sort out now is this disparity between wages and living cost, because we've still got a housing industry that is, you know, very, very bubbly, because you've got all these kind of foreign investors, and it's beggar thy neighbor, and investors in one country are pumping a housing market in another country, and then this investor over here is pumping a housing market in this country, and so it's very, very elevated. And we're certainly seeing that in London, where a lot of my friends now just cannot afford to live in London anymore, because people just keep coming in and using London as an investment farm, and it just drives up property prices, and of course you can't get the wages to support it. Now eventually wages will act like gravity on those property prices. If people can't pay them, they can't pay them, right? Everyone has to have shelter from nature, and so eventually the people in the housing market will have to capitulate, and that means they will have to sell for less than they bought for. And they'll probably have to make a very painful decision. But a lot of that will then come down to the psychology of whether they can give up that. You know, everyone's got an ego, and if they feel that they made a right decision and they're not prepared to change their minds now that the market's adjusted, then they could end up holding on to these properties for a long time. But hopefully the idea is that the internet can give rise to quite a large arbitrage opportunity, where we do force the price down a lot of these unnecessary high costs of living, and therefore reach some kind of equilibrium.
Sure. Well, I think that, yeah, like you said, you know, consuming content on the internet isn't free. There's no free lunch. You're going to pay with your data, or you're going to pay with, you know, the ads that you see, and you're going to pay somehow, if you want to or not. And now the question is, do you want to pay without a middleman and get the content producer the funds directly, or do you want to go through a third party? And that, I mean, that goes down to all the things you said about externalizing the risk and kind of, you know, what did you call it before? Legal arbitrage? What was this? Judiciary arbitrage or something? I mean, it could also play a role in the whole thing too, you know.
Well, people need to, like, if markets are conversations, we're starting with that as our premise. People just need to turn around to their landlords and tell them to fuck off. The reason why, particularly landlords in London, are so cheeky, the reason they tempt you into these contracts, and then it's like, and then 6 months in, there's a break clause, and they're like, oh, the rent just went up £300, and it's like, yeah, you.
In 6 months?
Oh yeah, you get break clauses like, oh god, this is why I don't touch private rental in London. It's an absolute scam, because there's like 5 companies that have pretty much got the market locked up. You've got the same group of people just churning these properties. They get you into these like 12-month contracts with 6-month break clauses, which means either of you can kick each other out. Or you can either leave voluntarily, they can kick you out after 6 months. But what they're playing on is your sense of convenience. So you get used to it, you put down some roots, and then of course 6 months in, and it comes like, got to put the rent. Oh, we got someone else. Someone that's a phantom bidders. There's constant phantom bidders. Like if you just sit in an estate agent in London, I mean, it is hilarious to listen to the bullshit.
Phantom bidders, I like that. It's only phantom bidders.
It's a famous scam that they do, where they invent buyers in markets because it's not transparent. Right, so it's not a free market because the people aren't free. The people don't have the information they need to make good decisions, because it's all about information asymmetry. So when you're in the estate agency, or you're working in finance, or you're working in the music industry, it's all about information and keeping secrets. You're in the business of holding back information from a group of people to undermine their ability to make good decisions, so that you can make better ones. Right, so you can then control them, because now you're in control of their beliefs. If you just invent a buyer and you say, right, I've got someone here, he's gonna go, he's gonna outbid you by £300 per month, you've got no way of disproving that. And so
Right, and
all you can do now.
that's why
Yeah.
ProTip does not collect data, and the ProTip doesn't have anything to do with your data because we're not trying to control you. We're trying to give the control
Yeah,
back to you.
you
So there's
just
no
got to
data
give.
collection. We're not selling the data to anybody, or we're not holding it and saying we're not going to sell it unless maybe someone buys it, and perhaps
Yeah.
then your data is gone. It's just
Well, no,
what do
no.
you
So
say?
no, no,
Can't
no.
do evil? No.
Even if somebody buys us, the software is
Yeah, they
still
don't have
open
the
source.
data.
So
Yeah,
they don't
right.
have, we
But
don't
the
have
data,
data. Yeah.
yeah, the personal data that about your where you've been, that's the interesting thing. Not
But it's
is
also the
about
information asymmetry, because something that Blue Meanie brought up yesterday was about, well, all the information's on the blockchain, so it's not private. And of course he's right, except it's only true for the social network owner. If they associate their name with the Bitcoin address, in theory someone could go through and start gathering, consolidating that data. Um, but the thing is that everyone has access to that data, so it's not asymmetric anymore. It's symmetric
yeah,
data. And what
right.
gives
It's not what you
banks the
said, where you said
advantage?
the hoarding of the information. It's
Yeah,
not the
banks
same.
are in the
Right.
business of keeping secrets. They hold information back to gain a strategic advantage because they're not happy with prices in markets. If they were happy and comfortable and had the courage, then they would just be happy with whatever the price would settle at, right? They would let the free market work, and they would let people agree on prices organically, and they would just be happy with it. But because they're not happy with it, they have to control it. And they control it by holding back information so that they can make privileged decisions. And then that's not freedom. You lose your freedom then. And it leads to a lot of misunderstanding in arguments as well, because people then start criticizing free markets. And what they mean by free market has got nothing to do with what a free market would actually be. Because there's no presence of justice in the current market system that we have. So I don't think there's ever been a free market in history. So anyway, all very political, but I wanted to keep the show fairly short, really, because I've got
Yeah.
to keep talking to people. I've got an interview with a couple of journalists this afternoon, so I wanted to go off and do that. But I did want to say thank you very much. I did promise you that if we raised $2,000 that I would come on air, and I came on air as soon as I could. What's the next level we need to get to, guys? Let's bring up Indiegogo. Let's bring up
Well,
the
I
pie
think the
chart.
next level is whenever Thomas sings a song. When is that?
Oh, wow. So we haven't announced this yet, and we'll have to
Okay.
ask him. But
Okay.
please let us know in the comments and on Twitter what you think about Tom singing a song. This was an idea that came up when we were planning it. Look, we're nearly 20% of the way to our 10,000 goal. And remember, for $10,000, Leo and I are open sourcing the app on the 1st of May. We're going to put it out there. So over $2,000. So what is that? That's about $100 an hour on average. No, just a bit under maybe.
I mean, so far it's a real big success.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
just keep
looking
the momentum
really good,
going.
and we've also
Yeah.
got some people looking at this at the moment who I'm told do have some money. You know, they do have money to spare, and they've been notified about it, and that's just sort of come back to me through some friends. So I'm really hoping that I really want to get to 10 grand before the end of the first week. That's what I would really love to do, and I know it's a big ask. But I hope we can do that, because then I will just be able to it will be a weight off my shoulder. I'll know that that we've got that momentum that we need in order to carry this forward, and we can then go into May and we can start actually testing this thing out and seeing people get some real rewards from it. So yeah, you head over to the Indiegogo campaign. The links are all below, and you can also see this show. Look, you can even embed YouTube links in there. So do check it out, and we'll try and get Tom on again for the next show as well.
Yeah, definitely. So that yeah, everyone keep donating so we can talk Thomas into singing a song live on air, and maybe he'll do a request if you guys keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to keep on going with the shout outs as well on the next video. I didn't get time in this one, but I will shout your name out. If you don't want to be called out, make sure that you select the anonymous option on the Indiegogo. And if you are interested in receiving a perk but would like to donate in Bitcoin, that's fine. Just find me. I'm at Mr. Chris Ellis on Twitter. DM me. Tell me you're about to make a transaction. And then when I see it go through, obviously I'll know that it's you, and just give me your email address. So that will be all for today, ladies and gentlemen, but I'll see you guys on social media soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.